Africa Day is upon us, a time for us to reflect as Africans, as non-Africans, about the achievements and progresses made right here on the continent. We're really looking at people that don't just celebrate Africa Day on the 25th of May, but they're celebrating Africa Day every day of the year. And one of those people is none other than the CEO of MyPad. MyPad stands for the most influential people of African descent. And to talk about this is none other than Camille Olufowobi. Camille, for those that don't know you and don't know about MyPad and the amazing things that you all are doing, tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey and how you arrived at this point.
My name is Camille Olufowobi, and I am privileged to be the founder and CEO of MyPad, which is the most influential people of African descent. And an offshoot of MyPad is why I came to Nairobi, Kenya, to launch My Roots in Africa. And I keep saying, if I never went on the journey of founding MyPad, which is an organization focused on connecting the diaspora to Africa, I would have never come up with the idea for My Roots in Africa.
To you, what is the importance of having identity? Like, what does that mean? You know, I can paraphrase the famous quote by Pan-African activist Marcus Garvey that says, a person without a knowledge of their history or their culture is like a tree without its roots. What is the importance of identity? And why trees as well?
I'll take the first part of that question, which is about identity. Knowing thyself. You know, greatest disservice that was, or the injustice that was done to us as a people when people were taken forcibly from Africa. Not only were they taken without consent, but their identities was ripped from them. I mean, Kunta Kinte, they whipped him to call himself, another name, a slave master's name, right? So many of our people left the continent, and their dignity, their identity, their culture was stripped from them. And for me, reconnecting to that is a life calling that I know I've stumbled into, because I didn't set out on this journey to do this, but now I know for a fact that one of the things I'm here to do on this planet is to support millions of our people whose ancestral lines were ripped from Africa to reconnect to Africa. And for me, that is the beginning of reconnecting to your identity.
You know, you mentioned My Roots in Africa, which is a tree planting initiative. And I wanted to know, why tree planting when it comes to connecting back to your African roots? The symbolism you said, and what is probably one of your most memorable moments in terms of bringing people to plant trees here on the continent?
The concept of roots, like you said, I always say it's a God idea, because I had never planted a tree before in my life when I came up with the idea for My Roots in Africa. So the story goes, I am visiting Costa Rica for a United Nations conference for people of African descent in Latin America. So I got to meet Afro-descendants from Panama, from Brazil, from Ecuador, from places where, I was astonished that, how did you get there? So that was the beginning of my history lesson of how millions of our people were taken from Africa to the Americas. And the next conference I attended was another UN conference in Dakar, Senegal, and they were talking about climate action, about planting trees as part of the Great Green Wall. It's a desertification project where the Sahara Desert is eaten into arable lands, so they wanted to plant trees. And I remember the spirit moved me, and I got up in this conference and I said, I just left a group of people who are looking to connect with Africa. Why don't we get them to plant trees in Africa so they can say, I literally have roots in Africa? So I always say it's a God idea, because I'd never planted a tree before, and leveraging technology, we built an app that allowed them to remotely request for a tree to be planted in Africa. Beautiful idea, but truly has a deeper meaning. It's so symbolic, and now I truly feel that I found a calling upon my life that I'm gonna work with everyone I meet, work with you. Having this interview is part of that, getting the word out that every person, every human being who comes to Kenya, we want them to be able to plant a tree regardless of who you are, because you're giving back to the planet, and that's all of us supporting climate action. In the process of asking people what trees they want to plant, we have different requests from various people. And one of the things we've started to lean into is what we call for food security. So not only are we planting trees for offsetting carbon emissions, we're also planting trees for food securities for local communities as well, to give them seedlings that can support them to plant avocados, to plant bananas, as a way to actually provide food for, for the long term. Because one of the things that we're also doing with My Roots in Africa is supporting every traveler, regardless of your creed, your race, your religion. If you come to Africa, plant a tree before you leave to offset the carbon footprint of your travel to Africa. So look forward to partnering with Kenya. I now know for a fact that My Roots in Africa has found a home in Africa, right here in Kenya. I am truly inspired, and I truly believe that we need to get the world and people of African descent come to Nairobi to enjoy what I've enjoyed. We all have an assignment, which is to support humanity, to know that Africa truly is, humanity's home, and we all have a responsibility to do our part. So you can join that movement at mypad.org. That's MIPAD.org. And of course, you can visit myrootsinafrica.com. Plant a tree. You have options. Everything you need is on the website. Just go to myrootsinafrica.com. You can select the country you want your roots planted in. If we're not there yet, if you're watching this and you live in a country where you want us to come to begin this journey in your country, please reach out to us.
All right, and to all of you out there, we'd like to wish you a happy Africa Day on behalf of Capital FM, on behalf of MyPad, and anyone looking to plant their roots right here in the continent. This has been a Capital FM Newsbeat feature. Make sure you check us out online, www.capitalfm.co.ke.